Hey, it's Cory Boldroff, the real estate guy, bringing you this month's monthly market update for January 2021. I think we are all excited to put 2020 behind us and look ahead to the positive things that lie ahead of us. Um, I know a lot of things went on in 2020. I know there's a lot of misinformation going on. So that's why I do these monthly market updates to make sure that you're informed with real stats, facts, quotes from experts. I do give a little bit of my opinion, but I try to keep it very, very factual and stat and facts oriented using statistics from the experts and different sources that are reputable. There was a lot of misinformation that was put out there, but if you look back at my monthly market updates, pretty much everything that I was reporting came into fruition and came true and was a reality. And in some cases, it was actually even better than we thought. So without further ado, let's get into it. I wanted to get started and I wanted to go over a quote from Showing Time. It's a quote that I think helped us position everything that 2020 did and get ready to enter this new year of 2021. It says, market data has always been a powerful tool for real estate, but 2020 marked a new high point for how data was leveraged to encourage informed decisions and to help real estate professionals reinforce their status as the market experts. This came from Showing Time, Positive Takeaways from a 2020 blog. Now, if we think about that and we think about what happened in 2020 from the pandemic to, the unrest and certainly things that have come across the country, natural disasters, things like that. In our business, market data was the difference maker. And I think as we look back in the last year from this quote on Showing Time, we can really kind of say, how do we use that going forward and help people understand what's going on in 2021? So if you did see some of my market updates from last year, I clipped a few slides here just to remind you of where we came from, talking about all the reasons it wasn't 2008 all over again, from the appreciation to inventory to equity to all the things that we know about the real estate market that helped counter all the news that was out there. So that's why I put this information out there, is so that you guys can be informed to make your educated decisions and decipher through all the nonsense that you see on the news and actually hear it from real experts and look at the stats that really helped drive the market. And as a result, I believe that's where we are at today, by realtors across the country informing their clients and friends and family on what's really going on and what the year really looked ahead of us. So as we look at this slide, you can see annual home appreciation in the the build up to the 2008 crash. We saw that home equity growth was through the charts. It was at a low at 6.5% appreciation and at a high at 12.5%. So it was almost an unhealthy appreciation. Whereas the last 6 years building up into 2020, we've been at a very healthy appreciation. On a 40-year average, we average about 3 to 5%. So we've been right in between that 3 and 5%. Now in 2020, we actually had a great appreciation growth of a little over 7%, which I'll get into a different slide. But again, we're not in an unhealthy appreciation. In the 2008 crash and the buildup, it was a buyer's market. There was just a lot of inventory, a lot of people selling because they're either behind on their mortgage, underneath on equity. A lot of things were going on where lots of people are putting the houses on the market. Whereas today we're in a seller's market. Over the last 3 to 4 years, we've been at a very low inventory, which is a great thing. And also we are at a very, very strong, healthy total home equity versus the cashed out. In the buildup of 2008, we were taking out like 263, 240, $321 billion a year, versus 2017 to 18, we've been hovering anywhere from like 70 to $90 billion. So it sounds like a lot, but we've actually a lot different. We're almost in a whole new era where people aren't taking out in an unresponsible way their equity and spending it on cars and boats and trips and things like that. People are doing it in a much more methodical way, strategic way. Maybe they've been educated, maybe they've learned a little bit better. There are different restrictions with banking as well that has helped. So it's really led to a very strong housing market. Right now, 58.7% of all homes in America have at least 60% of equity. That is a great place to be if you're a homeowner. It means that even if you do fall behind in your mortgage, or you lose your job, or something, your health comes into play, or we come into a pandemic, a lot of people were able to take some equity out of their home, sit in a good position, or if they really needed to sell, they were able to put their home on the market and sell it for a profit rather than just let it go into foreclosure. So we're really good. Also, Americans, 42.1% of all homes are owned free and clear. This is one of the highest we've ever been in the history of our country. There are a lot of baby boomers and senior citizens that own their homes outright. And this has really helped the market be in a strong situation. We have about $177,000 in average home equity on mortgaged homes, which again, these are all great things to show you that we are in a great position. So if you do hear people out there saying that we're going to come into a crash, that we're going to come to this huge foreclosure market, the numbers and stats just don't support that. Also, I showed you over the last 5 recessions, we actually do see a home appreciation growth. I know we all look back to what happened in 2008, where we almost lost 20% of home equity, or not of home equity, but of home prices and value. That isn't the norm. So when we look at the 5, we actually have an average of it actually being above and not actually depreciating during appreciation. So now that we went through 2020, we can actually add another year that during recession, where last year we actually had a 7.3 appreciation growth in home values, which just goes to show you again that just because we're coming to recession doesn't equal a housing crash, doesn't equal people losing out and homes getting flipped upside down. This is just another way that if you do see it on the news, you hear someone talking about it, one of your friends, you can be like, wait a second. I saw the real estate guys market a monthly update, and that is just not true. And this is a CoreLogic National Home Price Index based on actually homes that have sold. So as we see the growth of home equity, we're almost averaging $1 trillion that was gained in the third quarter of last year. We're over $17 trillion in home equity. So Americans, we are sitting in a very, very strong spot. I know our government might be in a different situation, but hopefully one day they learn from us and they can start learning how to budget and save their money correctly. I'm going to bring you a quote from Frank Nofap, chief economist at CoreLogic. Over the past year, strong home price growth has created a record level of home equity for homeowners. The average family with a home mortgage loan had $194,000 in home equity in the third quarter. This provides an important buffer to protect families if they do experience financial difficulties, and is one of the reasons for the generational low in foreclosures rates. Now, also, one of the things that has to do is there is a memorandum in foreclosures right now, but if we look at it, we're not in a position in 2008 where as people are getting foreclosed on, they're just going to let their houses go because they have no equity into it. A lot of homeowners have equity in their home, and enough that they're just going to put their houses on the market. They're going to be able to sell it relatively quickly and be able to cash out and leave in a cash flow positive situation, unlike in the 2008 crash. When we look at American home equity, it skyrockets. There's $17,000 in average gain in equity of mortgaged homes, and that was in 2020. The current average equity of mortgage rates is $194,000 in equity. 38.2%, so it's a little different than the number that I said earlier. There's a different correlation, but 38.2% of all homes are owned free and clear, and we had an increase of 10.8% in increase in equity, totaling over $1 trillion, and this was just in the last third quarter. So overall, we have $17 trillion in home equity. When we look at across the nation, so you can look at whether you live in California or over in New Jersey, we have a lot of home equity growth. In California, we're averaging about 34%. Again, it's about 7%. So in my home, I know personally, we were about $42,000 in equity growth. I bought it in 2018 for $600,000. And at the end of 2020, we just refinanced. It was $690,000. So we grew $90,000 in the 2 years, right along that 6 and 7% appreciation growth. We do look at places like Arizona, who have $28,000 in home equity growth, which is actually quite a bit. especially considering that their home prices are a lot cheaper than California. Texas is about $8,000. So overall, we're seeing a very, very positive year-over-year equity gains. We're going to look at another quote from Frank Martel. He's the president and CEO of CoreLogic. The housing market has remained a strong pillar in an otherwise tumultuous economic year. A sharp rise in demand spurred by record low interest rates continues to bolster homeowner equity. And with many people now spending more time than ever at home, some homeowners have tapped into strengthening their equity to fund renovations. So people are starting to go, okay, I'm not going to buy the fancy car or the new boat or the motorcycles. I'm going to take out some money to do some renovations, which is just going to help increase the value of my home and increase the equity. We, in fact, also did this. As I was saying, we refinanced. We put about $20,000 into our home. So when I refinance in about 3 to 4 months, we're going to also see another jump and increase in the value in our home, and as well as just do some things that we needed to do. And with that said, if you do ever want to run some ideas of like what you should do to increase the value of your home, what's the best dollar for dollar return on it, just give me a shout out. We can go over some of those things. Just to quickly go over them. Anytime you add square footage, that is one of the best ways you can add home value and get dollar for dollar for your return. The next comes into, and it sounds kind of funny, but paint and carpet is one of the best things that you can do, especially if you're selling your home. You add a fresh coat of paint and some carpet or new flooring for under $8,000 to $10,000. You will actually get that back and maybe then some, because then when people come into your home, they feel that it's new. They feel, oh, this house has been updated, and it just gives them a good feel of it rather than coming to a home going, oh, I have to repaint this. And even though it's not a big expense, it's psychologically or hurts trying to sell your home. Then when we move past that, it's kitchens and bathrooms are one of the number one things, or things that are obsolescent. So if you have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, or a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, anytime you add that second bathroom, even if it's inside the living square footage, that helps out. Updating the plumbing, updating the electric, things that will bring things that used to be okay but are no longer okay, bring them up to what builders are doing today. Those are all things that you can do to increase your price. So we look it over. This is a home price expectation survey done into the fourth quarter of 2020. And we saw a $54,000 potential growth in household wealth over the next 5 years based solely on increased home equity if you purchase a $300,000 home in January of 2021. Now in California, obviously, it's very, very hard to come by of a $300,000 home. So you could just kind of exponentially go up more into like a $600,000 to $800,000 home, maybe $1 million home. And you can see that you have a lot of potential growth in 2021 to 2026. Now, I will say, even though this is the expectation, I do think there are some key factors that we do have to keep in mind. One is we have to keep an eye on interest rates. As interest rates rise, appreciation growth will start to lower. As we come out of this pandemic, and I might be getting a little ahead on my slides, but as we come out of this pandemic, we are going to see how it correlates into people's jobs, moving, and also senior citizens and people that own their homes outright, how much inventory comes onto the market. But if you're thinking about selling, right now might be the best time. I know it's a little unorthodox. Usually listing season's about May, June, but right now, just because there's really low inventory, and there's a lot of buyer demand out there. I know I just showed some homes to several buyers in different areas. In some places, there's 30 to 40 offers on homes right now. So it's really going to be important about who you choose, because to get your offer accepted, not only are you going to have to be, compete with the highest and best, you're going to really have to show them that you have an agent that's experienced in getting the loans closed. So let's look ahead at what's ahead in 2021. Now, no one has the crystal ball out there, but we can show you with stats and facts, and I can kind of give you my opinion from what I've seen over the last 20 years of what's been going on in the real estate market. First, as always, I like to start off with quotes from professionals. This is from homes.com, David Meal. The surge in the work from home population has rewritten the playbook for many home buying and rental decisions, from when and where to relocate to what people are actually looking for in their next residence. So We have a lot of people that were able to work from home, and maybe not all the time, but maybe just work from home and be able to go to the office 1 or 2 days a week. Some have been strictly from home, and even corporations are starting to think, maybe I don't need this big, huge building, this big overhead. Maybe I can allow my employees to work from home and remotely. So that is going to change the dynamics of where people want to live. I also know a lot of people are started at home businesses during this 2020 pandemic. So if that continues, it may no longer have to be in a place like California. And that's why we're seeing a lot of people leaving California for places like Texas and Arizona and Nevada, Tennessee, Utah, where taxes are a lot better. Working from home, you can have a bigger home, maybe a bigger garage, RV parking, RV buildings, warehouses. So we are seeing a mass exodus. So again, if you are thinking about moving out of state or you do know someone, reach out to me. I have boots on the ground in different states. We're licensed in different states, so we can really help you with that situation. Also, Mark Fleming, a chief economist at First American. Despite the best of intentions of home builders to provide more housing supply, the big short in housing supply will continue in 2021 and likely to keep housing prices appreciation flying high. So I know in California alone, we're under it's like 4.8 million homes that were supply shortage. So it really doesn't matter how much building we do. You can go to builders and new construction sites, and they're being sold as lots before they're even being built because of the demand. I know I was out in Arizona this past weekend, and I mean, places that were just breaking ground were already completely sold out. Also, it leaves opportunity for appreciation growth where you buy in phase 1, and by the time phase 2 and phase 3 are done, you've already increased your equity, quite a bit. I know a certain client, we helped him go out to Florida, and he bought his house for $600,000, and it's not even done being built, and it's already worth $700,000. So great time to maybe look at some new construction. I will say this, use your realtor. Realtors get builder incentives. A lot of times the agents give that incentive to you, helping with upgrades, but also they can help you negotiate and look at the contract. Also, just because it's a new home doesn't mean it was built right. So they can help you get a home inspection and really review it and know what to look at and how to go to the builders to negotiate in those times where things aren't done right. The 2021 home price forecast from NAR, which is National Association of Realtors, Realtor.com, CoreLogic, which holds a lot of the data and statistics, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, the big lenders, government lenders, and MBA. So the lowest one has a 2%, the highest at 6%. If we just kind of use the average norm, we're looking at about 4 and 5% appreciation growth. I do see that being very, very realistic, especially with inventory being so low. So again, it still is a great time to buy. We're not going to come into a crash by any means. We'll just have to keep an eye on interest rates. According to Realtor.com, the bright spot for buyers is that more homes are likely to become available in the last 6 months of 2021. That should give folks more options to choose from and take away from some of their urgency. With a larger selection, buyers may not be forced to make a decision in mere hours and will have more time to make up their minds. I know a lot of times, like I'm showing houses, and we'll send them a list, and before we even get the list to them and they looked it over to them, there's a lot of homes before they're able to see them that are gone. That's why they have a way of getting off-market properties before they hit the market, before they hit the Zillow, before the average public can actually see them. We're able to get my buyers in them and make offers on them. It happened quite a few times in 2020. So make sure your realtor has those access to get the off-market properties. Maybe it works with banks, works with wholesalers, and things like that. So obviously we have to talk about the pandemic and the economy and how it's going to recover. Right now we are positioned to recover quite well. The narrative is already turning. I won't get political, but it is already starting to turn. We're starting to open up the economy. I know in California, I just saw something where Newsom's going to release that we're going to start opening up California again. Whether you think that's right or wrong, it's still going to do good for our economy. Obviously, we're going to follow the science on this one and see where it goes. So if we look at the V-shaped recovery, I know we predicted this in March, April, and June, and that we saw a huge increase in unemployment. It was almost down to 15% at one point in time, but we've seen it bounce back fairly quickly. Now, my heart goes out to anyone that is still not able to be employed. I definitely know there's a lot of people that have been hurt. I do have faith that we are going to get better, and there hopefully are more jobs for you as we go into 21, 22, and 23. Both the Fed and Wall Street Journal, based on surveys of economists, we see that we should be close to that historically low unemployment rate that we hit right before the pandemic. I don't know if we remember, but before the pandemic hit, we were at almost an all-time 40-year low for unemployment. So people were being employed at historical rates, both for minorities, Blacks, Hispanics, even women. We were all at an historical low unemployment. Right now, we're hovering around 6.7% nationwide. Over 2021 to 2023, we see it heading back down to the historical low unemployment rates that we were pre-pandemic. According to Jung Hoon Choi, research associate with the Housing Finance Policy Centers at the Urban Institute, renters are disproportionately hurt by the crisis. A greater share of renters lost their jobs. That meant losing savings that could have been used for down payment, falling behind on bills, which hurt their credit and will make it even more difficult for them to buy and become future homeowners. Now, I do want to say that you no longer need 20%. So I do run into buyers and clients and families and friends that we talk, and they're like, I'm saving for a down payment. I'm saving for a down payment. Right now in California, you don't actually even have to save for a down payment. There's a CalHFA loan with 3.5% down. You can get into a home, and actually the CalHFA loan, they'll give you 3.5% for the down payment, which you don't need to pay on or back until you refinance or sell the house. And they'll give you 3% for closing costs, so you don't need to pay on it or it back until you refinance or sell it. So literally with $495 for the inspection, $895 for the appraisal, and $35 for your credit, you can get into your home with little money down. And that is the most important thing to do, is to get into the home, attain home ownership. And that way, when you see the appreciation growth, you can take in on that equity growth. You can take in on the appreciation growth, and you no longer are throwing money away in the rental trash bucket, as I would like to call it. And if you can afford rent, you are able to afford a mortgage because you're just affording your landlord's mortgage, not your own. Some things to maybe think about is team up with a family member, a friend, a family member, a coworker, where you can buy a house together. You know, buy a 3 or 4 bedroom house, each get your 1 or 2 bedrooms. Even multi-families can live together, multi-generations can live together. So there are all ways to get into a home, get into the home, build some equity, and then maybe help each other buy the next home, and you can each have your home. So there are just some things to look at and to be creative. Give me a call. We can see how it can work for you. For each of the following possible post-forbearance outcomes, what percentage of these 2.7 million homeowners do you estimate will be in foreclosure? We right now, there's 2.7 million in forbearance. That means they've taken a pause and memorandum on their mortgage. Weren't able to afford them either because they lost their job or came into hard times, or maybe were affected by COVID with their health situation. According to the survey, 58% of them are going to be able to resume their mortgage payments and stay in their home for at least 1 year. 24% are going to be in this position where they'll just list their home, again, because they have a lot of equity in the home, and they'll exit forbearance, leaving themselves with cash flow positive. The statistic is about 18% are going to receive a foreclosure notice within the first year of exiting the forbearance. Now, just because they receive a foreclosure notice doesn't mean they're actually going to get foreclosed on, again, because a lot of them are going to have enough equity where it's going to make sense for them to put it on the market. The market's hot, where it's not going to take more than 90 days to sell their home, and they're going to be able to recover some of their equity. That's what I would recommend. So if you are, in that situation, give me a call and we can talk about how we can get you out of your house with the least amount of damage done to your credit, give you the most equity and cash flow in your pocket, and that way maybe putting yourself in a situation where you can buy the next home. The treasury rates have really been moving up since the election, but mortgage rates have been kept going down. We're going to see mortgage rates drift up with the treasury rates as opposed to moving down the upward direction, according to Michael from Tony from Chief Economics at MBA. Now, Like I said, one thing that we have to do is just watch interest rates. In 2008, Feds raised the interest rates from about 2.5% all the way up to 6.75% in 18 months. That really helped cause or was a contributing factor to why we had such a severe crash. If you double and triple people's payments, and a lot of people were on adjustable mortgages, you're really going to hurt them. Whereas right now, over 90% of people are in 30-year fix. So even if rates go up, the current homeowner won't be affected, but the people that are trying to buy or maybe sell and then buy, they're going to be affected by this. So as interest rates go up, people will be able to afford less and prices are going to have to start coming down or appreciating at a less factor. So this is kind of a scenario to kind of show you based on the forecast by realtor.com. So if you bought a house today and you had a mortgage of $300,000 at 2.7% interest rate, which is about the average norm, you're looking about principal and interest about $1,216. If you wait till the fourth quarter, appreciates by 5%. So we're looking right around $317,000. Interest rates go up just to 3.4%, which could be somewhere around the norm. You're going to increase your principal and interest payment by $200. Now, it might not sound like a lot, but $200 means that you have to actually make $600 more in monthly income just to be able to afford the same house. So it'll make it so people's purchasing power won't be as high and prices are going to have to start leveling off, accompanied with more and more inventory coming to the market. A seller won't have 40 offers, maybe they'll have one or two, and it'll be a less competitive market, maybe start turning into a buyer's market, and where it's not as crazy, to say the least. I do believe that the American dream of homeownership is very strong. It's very much alive from all the survey data that I've seen. If you're not a homeowner, you want to be one in the future, whether it's a short or long-term goal. And that's according to Jessica Lutz, VP of Demographics and Behavioral Insights at the National Association of Realtors. So before 2020 hit, millennials were actually surveyed, and a lot of them didn't believe in homeownership and they just thought they would rent. And as we came into 2020, that kind of turned over. We saw millennials getting into the market. We also saw that if you were unhappy with your home, you were really unhappy with your home when you had to sit there. So a lot of people started moving up, looking for different things in their home, maybe bigger yards, maybe more out in the suburbs, or even into different states where it's a lot more affordable. I believe homeownership is still the American dream. I believe it's one of the key indicators in building true wealth in this country. According to the stats that I saw, that is one of the only indications of building wealth is how early you bought your home and when you bought your home and how many homes you bought. That is actually what builds true wealth in America. With that being said, if you guys have any questions, you want me to do a market update on your neighborhood, kind of give you some home value comparisons, anything like that, give me a call. You need a referral, so for a builder, a contractor, a finisher, anything of that, give me a call. I'm always here to help answer your questions. There's never any obligation to use me. I like to be helpful. I like to give advice, show you with opinions and facts and stats, and be here to help. So with no further ado, let's make it a great 2021. I do these monthly market updates every single month. I will continue to do so. Hope you guys find it useful. If you do, please share them, like them, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until then, see you next time.